the first time we've heard this story from someone other than Louis. And it's confirming what I knew last week, that Louis is raggedy. The new episode of Interview with the Vampire is out, and it was a tearjerker. Let's break it down, and spoilers if you haven't watched. I felt relief hearing Lestat's account. Finally, I can thirst in peace. I recently started rewatching the first season, and everything that this man says checks out. Even before he became a vampire, Louis was manipulative, violent, and ruined everyone he came in contact with. And that was from Louis' point of view. I always saw him as a perpetual victim because the story was framed in his mind. And so his mother turning on him, his brother, his sister, even Lestat, all that seemed like he was just a tragic victim. Lestat said, "You're the problem, babes." And I'm inclined to agree. I'm seeing the same thing happen to Armand, another very powerful vampire who is granting Louis power and losing some of himself in the process. I'm not saying that Lestat is innocent. I'm just saying he's not the tyrant that I perceived him to be. And maybe that sudden shift in his personality wasn't as sudden or as unwarranted as we first believed. Because Louis and Claudia had a connection that Lestat could never be a part of. They weren't afraid to flaunt that connection in front of Lestat. This would be similar to if they only spoke French and he never did. Except for he can never learn French. What's most tragic about this is Lestat really tried to connect with Claudia. They butt heads because they're so much alike. But the issue is whenever there's a trio of people, it's always going to become 2 against 1. That's just something that happens in life. And him not being able to mentally connect with these two was ultimately their downfall. And I can understand that feeling of loneliness that he's always felt coming back to him in a full house. You know what? It was dramatic to be a part of this play, but not only was it very much justified because you called me pussy multiple times and left me to die in New Orleans, and then started living with my coven, I would have done more than what Lestat did. He's better than me. Actually, way better than me, because during the trial, he was sure to correct. He took blame for his part. He made sure that everyone knew that this was a story of love and not revenge. And Louis tried to make it seem like, oh, he's just trying to be manipulative. But why? If he feels like this man is about to die, what is the point? Final thought, I laughed out loud when he pressed that homophobic soldier. He was siphoning him in front of all his friends like, yeah, not only did you abscond, but you can't even read a map. You whack, boy. You wish I touched your booty hole. Like, good, yeah, good for you, Lestat. Crazy that Santiago was going this hard when he already was the coven leader. I think a big piece of that is the amount of resentment he has towards Armand. Armand killed his maker for less, apparently. And now he was letting these 2 vampires from America run buck wild. I didn't like him. He was annoying. But man, I felt him again. And that's what makes this show so incredible. Even the antagonists, even the villains, you understand their point of view. And it makes you wonder, at least me, if I would be better or worse in this situation. I don't know when it happened, but I went from hating Armand to feeling sympathy for him. I couldn't imagine having that much power and being powerless, especially amongst a group that you yourself cultivated. While I don't think that he set up Louis and Claudia for this trial, I don't think that he did everything he could to stop it. And honestly, why would he? He don't owe Claudia nothing. And honestly, in his mind, she is an abomination that shouldn't be alive. It doesn't make watching the trial any easier. It kills me that finally Claudia found someone who loves her, puts her first, and then Claudia just has to watch her die. Obviously, I'm mourning for Claudia, but I'm mourning for Madeline a little bit more, which is a testament to this actress and the script. For her entire life, she was put on trial, beaten, for just existing, loving, living, and even in death, this bitch had to go on trial again with some undead. But like, could you imagine if I was in hell? I'd be like, I'm about to go to hell and be on trial again with the devil. Like, for her, she never wins. Honestly, that's why they're a perfect match. I think that's why she's like, I'm not joining the coven. You guys are just like everyone else. Done things like this to me. What's tragic about Claudia is the fact that she's always known that she's not wanted. Always a sneaking suspicion, but it was laid out in front of her with both Lestat and Louis. And her second birth wasn't told to her correctly, reminding us that Louis is manipulative and will always tell a story with a little bit of spice to make him look better. He begged Lestat, dragged her body like it was nothing. He saw her as a toy, a band-aid to fix pain and the loneliness that he felt. But human beings can't be that. While she did have fun in the beginning, she spent essentially 30 to 40 years suffering because a pimp in New Orleans got a little bit of power. I am so very angry at Louis. I think it's more that I'm angry at myself for not looking at the clear signs. Emery is indeed the monster. Even by Louis' account, we saw his his anger. He incited race riots and didn't go to protect the black people. And I thought he was just fed up with racism, but I think more so than that, he felt like a god and was irritated that he still had to deal with it. Like I said, when he put up that colored sign, he did nothing to protect the colored people that was going to go to his business. When he killed his business partner, he knew there'd be retaliation. Even Lestat was like, bro, what did you think would happen? Yet he didn't go to the colored neighborhood to make sure that they were good. Not until after the riots were just about done, and that's when he saved Claudia. He rationalizes tragedies so that he doesn't have to get involved. And that's why that whole thing with Claudia and the coven got as far as it did, because he was like, nah, this is what you asked for. I'm gonna be front row center for his revenge moment next episode. Claudia's blood is on your hands, sir, and I want you to know that. Trial was racially charged. And Madeline was there, but even they said, hey, you don't gotta be here. You can just join us. So what we're watching is two black vampires on trial by a coven and an audience of white people. Even when Lestat was like, yo, I'm guilty too. Santiago was like, girly pop, it's not us. Like, you can't, be in trouble. Some of it may be like, oh, he's a benefactor, but there's a racial there's just something that we can't ignore, especially since race has been such a big part of the story and was brought up again during this play. Either way, I hope he kills all these white vampires, even though I don't bang with him right now. This episode made me feel everything, but it was equal parts tragic and clarifying, and it's gonna ruin everything I watched this week. It was that good. 5 out of 5 Frankie Flames, of course. A little more fire on it, because we in hell.